So we continue our study of the forward journey. It's not a walk in the park. It's not easy street. Along the way are challenges, but each one is an opportunity to learn about God. So at the Red Sea, we saw God as Yehoshua, the deliverer. At Mara, Jehovah Rapha, the healer. At Elim, Jehovah Shalom, our peace. When he gave the manna and the water from the rock, Jehovah Jireh, the provider. Last week, when we look at Amalek, Jehovah Nisai, or banner. By now you'd have thought that Israel had learned all their lessons and could go forward with confidence into the land. But as we shall see today and next week, God willing, there were two more failures to come. They are both linked to a deeper failure. Not recognizing Jehovah Shammah, the Lord who is present. Go back a bit, Exodus 13, verse 21 and 22. We are told there that God went before them by day in a pillar of cloud, by night a pillar of fire. The pillar never moved, was always there. So, in other words, whatever they were going through, God was present. But they seem not to understand that. And so, as we look at Israel, let's remember this, that what they went through was for us, for our benefit, for our learning. 1 Corinthians 10, from verse 6 down. We read these things not to feel better than Israel, but to humble ourselves, because they see, to whom much is given, from him much is required. We can look back on the experiences and learn. They are nothing to look back on. So, as we look at Israel, let's remember this, that we are responsible for what we know. So as we look at them, see their mistakes, we make sure we don't make the same mistakes that they made. So here we are with the golden calf incident. We begin first with the challenge. There's also a challenge that they face. What is the challenge today? The loss of a significant person. Through all their traveling, there was one man who was there with them, a man called Moses. They would grumble and complain, but he was there, and in a sense, they felt a measure of safety when he was there. At least had somebody to blame as well. And now Moses is not around. When you lose somebody important to you, it puts you under great stress. I recall in my early days at school, my sister was a teacher. I recall one day she went somewhere. I didn't know where she had gone. So I came out and she wasn't there. I felt so lost. I cried. My sister was not there. Israel didn't know where Moses was. He was missing, perhaps presumed dead. So that loss of this important person was a challenge that they faced at this time. What was their reaction to that challenge? They said, we want gods. Go before us, make us gods, because we don't know what happened to Moses. And so, as we read in Exodus 32, they made the golden calf and worshiped it. But his worship was not to glorify God or any deity, you know. It was a sensual kind of behavior. It says they sat down to eat and drink and got up to play. And they weren't playing games. I can guarantee you that. All right? They were singing, but they weren't singing the songs of God. They were having a kind of carnival type atmosphere in whatever they were doing. So here's Moses on the mountain getting law from God, and they are down there breaking the law that God was given. It tells you something, beloved. Man is a failure from day one. All right? Whatever test God gives to man, he fails. The law has been given, and it's been broken at the same time. What was the problem? They failed to see the God who was there. He had not gone away. But they had the eyes on the wrong person. The eyes were fixed on Moses. And because he had gone, they couldn't function. And that, in a sense, was idolatry. So that's why it wasn't hard to move from that to the golden calf. Listen, beloved. We are called as we go forward to keep our eyes fixed on the Lord. As we go forward, Hebrews 12:2, we are looking unto Jesus. Paul tells the Corinthians, you follow me as I follow Christ. For leaders come and go, but the Lord remains forever. And the church will get any leader, any person. So some persons, when they can't get their way in the church, they threaten to leave. I will leave. Listen, you want to leave the church? You leave. The church belongs to God. It's not anything for me to say, oh, if I want to leave, you come and beg me to stay. That's a power play. No. You see, we need to understand that the Lord is the one who runs the church. And our eyes will be fixed on the Lord. He has never left. So if we get up and leave tomorrow, God is still here. Moses had gone, they didn't know where he had gone. But God was still there, but they didn't understand that. And they thought they had to find their own God. That's the mistake that they made. The wrong reaction. They try to make their own gods to fill the gap. What is God's response from verse 7 onward? First of all, he pronounces judgment. He says, they have done this wrong thing. I am going to consume them. And they deserve to be punished. They had no excuse. They had seen enough of God. Imagine you don't have water, and a rock is struck, and water comes out. Doesn't that tell you something about the God you claim to serve? So how come then, after all of that, you make a golden calf? So God is saying, you deserve to be punished. And you know at times, when things go wrong, we blame somebody else, right? Back in the Garden of Eden. So Adam, why you eat the fruit? The woman you gave me, check Aaron here. Moses asked him, what happened? He said, the people. And he says, they brought their stuff. I threw it in the fire, and the calf came out. It just came out. Well, he made the calf. Well, that's how we are. We make excuses. But God says, listen, you ain't got no excuses. You deserve to be punished for that. You are rebellious. But even as he pronounces judgment, God shows mercy. From verse 11, it suggests to me that what he said to Moses was a test. He said to Moses, listen, let me alone. let me destroy them all, and I'll make you a great nation. It's like God saying, I'm going to walk through Elim. I'm going to zap all the bad people. And I'm going to start with you to make a new church. You say, yes, Lord, start with me. That was the test. Moses did not say that. He didn't say, God, yes, yes, I'm the good one. He became an advocate for God's people. He says, you know, God, but these are your people. You see, despite Israel's contrary behavior, Moses still loved them, and he saw them as the people of God. And as such, he had a concern. And he said, God, you can't do this to your people. This is a leader. Leadership is not about power. It's about caring for the people of God. Peter tells the elders, don't be a boss over God's heritage. Be examples to the flock. Samuel said at one point to Israel, God forbid us to sin against him in ceasing to pray for you. 1 Samuel 12:23. This is love. That's why it's crucial for us to be a people of love who want to serve in God's church. The Lord asked me that 3 times, do you love me? When he said yes, he said, take care of my flock, take care of my flock. So here we have Moses, the advocate, pleading for God's people. He's concerned about God's people. He's also concerned about the honor of God. He says, God, it will look like you failed if you took out of Egypt and you can't bring them into the land. It will tarnish your name. You see, a spiritual person is always concerned about the honor of God and God's name. For you see, the church is a place where God's name is. And if things are going wrong in the church, God's name is tarnished. The Moses says, God, you can't do this. It will bring dishonor to your name. So Moses begs God to stay his hand. You see, always you must see the total picture. Whatever you do in the church, see how that affects the totality of what we're doing here. So I might get my way, but God is honored in the process. I remember some time ago when I was talking about some issues I was dealing with a certain church, and somebody said to me, so why are you still among the brethren? And I said, you know, God has put me here. I saw a bigger picture, and that's why I stayed, and I'm still here. We got to see the bigger picture, beloved. Don't just look at what happened around you and people frustrating you. See the bigger picture. See God's honor at stake. Moses says, God, you know, if you zap them, it's going to look bad. And he said, God, I beg you to stay your hand. In response to Moses, God did not zap the people. Listen, beloved. If God does not show mercy, nobody can stand. We tell ourselves always we ain't somebody. You know, if everybody like me, they will go right. That's not true. We all need God's mercy and God's grace. And so Moses says, God, please don't do this. And God in his mercy did not wipe them out, but instead, he issued an invitation. You see, in all that is happening, no matter how things are bad in the world, God has a remnant. He has people who honor him no matter what's going on. And in this time of moral breakdown and idolatry, God called out the remnant from verse 26. Who's on the Lord's side, let him come to me. It's a call to separation, to leave the crowd and come and stand up for God. In that dark time in Israel's history, the Levites took a stand for God. They stood out from the crowd. And that same call has come to us today as God's people. Listen to what Paul says to the church. Ephesians 5:14. Awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from among the dead, and Christ shall give you light. Now if people are lying down dead, and you're among them sleeping, we might think you're dead too. But if you rise up and begin to do things, you know you're alive. And God is in this church, wake up, rise up, and show yourself to be my people. We are called to shine as lights in a dark world. Philippians 2 verse 15. Matthew 5:16, we are called to be lights of the world, to be on the hill. It means we stand out from the crowd. I was in Georgetown probably last year, and a young brother shared his testimony. Never forget what he said. We are called not to blend in, but to stand out. Young people, you heard what I said? You're not called to fit in. You are called to stand out, to be different. You know, if you say you are Christian, you can't really save other people around you. No matter sense. You gotta show something that shows you have life. The early Christians were seen as antisocial and unpatriotic. Why? They get involved in certain festivals that they had at the time because they involved lewdness. And so they just did not blend in. They stood out and they were seen as bad people, evil. And listen, we today, once we stand out, they will see us as evil as well. What are you trying to play? Who do you think you are? But if the world hates you as a Christian, it hated Christ first. John 15:19. So the call is to separation in a time of breakdown, of idolatry. If you stand for the Lord, stand out from the crowd, be different. That's the call. It was also a call to sacrifice. When I read this portion, verse 27, it always speaks to my heart. The command was tough. Listen, the Christian life cannot be lived in our own strength. When God tells things we need to do, we can't do them just by ourselves. Now, listen to what it says. Put him on his sword by his side, go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, slay every man his brother, every man his companion, every man his neighbor. Now, listen, he did not say, go in there and kill the one you don't like. That's easy, right? Kill all those you don't like. Man, that's easy. Just pick the people you don't like and just... You know, some years ago, there was a matter to be judged in the church. Long time ago, so don't even try to figure out what we're talking about. Long ago, before somebody born. And there were brothers who stood with me on the matter. Later on, I found out they had personal issues with the brother we were dealing with. So it was easy for them to judge the case because they had issues with the brother. If that was their friend, they were a different thing, you understand? Now, when you are working for God, issues of friendship and family don't get in the way. The Lord didn't say kill your enemies. He said your brother, your friend, your neighbor. What does this mean? Well, listen. They had begun to worship a false god. And that was to be judged, punished. It had to be done without fear or favor. The only way you can do that is if you stand on the Lord's side. Where you say, the Lord comes first before anybody else. And you know, until we can get that, we cannot function properly in the church. I've seen too many things in the assemblies that have been done by friendship. If it's my friend, everything is okay. That's not how God does it. Let's read Luke 14:26. Yeah, I haven't been long yet, so I can just read it from my notes. If any man come after me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. These are heavy words. What is God saying here? You can't love anybody more than me. That's what it means. Nobody at all. Now remember at one point, I said no to a very dear friend of mine in my desire to honor God. It was hard to do, but I did it by God's grace. The person remained my friend. And remember one birthday I had, she sent me a card. It says among other things, here's to a man who's not afraid to stand for what he believes. You see, I could have tried to please my friend and gone wrong. I risked losing my friend, didn't lose my friend. And she came to understand where I was coming from. You need people who will make the sacrifice and say no to those who are close to them to honor God. You see, beloved, the church was born through sacrifice. Every time we come on a Sunday morning and break bread, remember a sacrifice. Somebody died to bring this into being. The suffering servant, Jesus, he died. Out of his death came the church. It didn't come, to some easy living. It was sacrifice. And the church has grown through sacrifice. Many of the early Christian leaders met by the deaths. Stephen, the martyr, James, brother of John, Peter himself, they died violently or the faith in Jesus Christ. In fact, the word martyr and witness are the same in the Greek. They witness with their lives. And at one point, one of the church fathers made a statement: the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. The idea being that as people are killed for their faith, the church goes on. Notice, through the years, they have killed many Christians, but they can't kill the church. The church continues, it's God's church. It will go on through sacrifice. So if you want to be good for God, be willing to sacrifice. It says in Luke 9:24, when you try to save your life, you will lose it. There are people, they try to protect themselves. They say, if I serve God, I can lose that. Try to save it, lose it. The Lord says, lose it for my sake. That's when you find it. Put everything on the line. Lay everything down. God, I come to you and I lay everything down. That is when we experience the blessing of God. The Levites stood out for God, and God blessed them. They became set apart for service. They received tithes and offerings from God's people. This is a critical time in our history. A time of breakdown, when there are many golden calves being worshipped. We need to know what we ought to do in this time. As the Levites did, to stand on the Lord's side. Because today, people worship golden calf of money. It's funny how the church today is so locked in on money, on prosperity, as if that is the most important thing today. We have to reject that. We need money to function, yes, but it must not be a God. And some it's all about pleasure, having a good time. And even in church you want to be entertained. That's where we are today. You come to church to meet God, to hear from God. That's why you come. For some it's about power. Some become the pastor to be one to call the shots. That's where the world is. But we, as God's people, must take our stand and reject all these golden calves and stand squarely on the Lord's side. Jehovah Shammah, He's present, always there for us. And once He's there for us, we know we meet all our needs and we can face anything that life brings to us. The false gods, they are empty. Baskets carry water. The substance is in the Lord Jesus Christ. And on Travis this morning, we are here, not yet saved, to take a stand today. To say, Lord, from today, I want to stand on your side, because only you can satisfy my soul's deepest longing. Golden calves can't do that. And so today, we want to surrender all right to Jesus, to allow Him to rule our lives, that we can glorify our Father in heaven and bring blessing unto men.